Hey, my name's Jessie. Where should I begin? Well, I'm an artist, and I could say a million things to try and describe and explain what I try to do and say with my artwork, but I still wouldn't feel like I said enough to justify what I try to do. So, here, I'm challenging myself to say what I need to say in a very short video, and then I challenge you to first consider what I've said and then try to apply it to your own life. I once heard a quote from the master of horror, Alfred Hitchcock, that there's nothing more frightening than an unopened door. In some ways, I believe that, but at the same time, there are few things that I find more interesting. Few things can do more to spark my curiosity. I've always said that I want to see everything. I want to see everything that is kept from me, and a closed door is hiding something. So it's frightening because you're unsure of what's on the other side. You're unsure of what's being kept from you, and you're unsure of what impact it might have on your life. I don't know if it's because I believe that knowledge is power, or if it's the forbidden fruit mentality, or just the desire to have at least the opportunity to draw my own judgment. But either way, the unseen and the invisible aspects of life are always something that appear or manifest themselves into my artwork. One of my favorite things to do is sit and watch people when they think that no one else is watching, to see how they behave when they're not putting on a show for the people around them. Even though they don't realize that they change their behavior when people are around, it's something that's interesting to see when they aren't doing that, because I find them to be their most honest and intriguing when they aren't trying to make people think a certain way of them. And I find a certain beauty in that. I find beauty in the things that no one seems to pay attention to anymore, the things that nobody seems to want to acknowledge. Finding the beauty in something that repulses or frightens others is often harder, but I do it all the time. I find it in an old abandoned building, in discarded and abandoned materials, in people that modify and mutilate their bodies for one reason or another, in bloody wounds, in thunderstorms, anywhere other people are afraid to look, people are afraid to think about. I don't believe that the entirety of the world dislikes all these things, but I do believe that our society and our nature often coerce us to try and look where beauty is supposedly easiest to find, and we aren't as often encouraged to explore the dark underbelly of life, even though it's really everybody's guilty pleasure. But why not? Isn't knowledge something that every person strives for every day? Why stop at what's merely presented to us? Pursue it. Go further, go deeper, look for yourself. I say all the time that I want to see everything, and I also want to help people see what I see. See something that's different than what they've been taught to believe, and then consider their own life experiences and draw new meaning. And through that interaction with me and my artwork, I can learn more about who that person is. With every explanation I hear, I gain insight into what that person is like and a deeper understanding of their character. I've had people come to me before and put me down and accuse me of only wanting to do work for shock value, to do something that will scare and disturb people. I disagree. I make what I like. Yes, I often make artwork that most would consider scary, but I don't just do it for shock value. I do it to shock them. I want to shock them into paying attention, and at the same time force them to look deeper, to try and see something beyond their initial shallow reaction. Everyone's interpretation of beauty is different. Another one of my favorite quotes is from an old movie called A Clockwork Orange. In the scene, the main character, Alex DeLarge, is sitting alone in his room listening to Beethoven, and he says to himself, "Oh bliss, bliss in heaven, it was gorgeousness and gorgiosity made flesh." But what makes his thought intriguing is the things that he's describing. They're images in his head of execution, destruction, chaos in the streets, himself as a vampire with his mouth saturated in blood. He finds pure beauty in these things that we would find horrifying. He has an entirely different view of what beauty is. So all my life, I try to find the beauty in places that others pay no mind, pay no attention, brush off, or just judge too quickly. I strive to look beyond what I've been taught and what others would have me believe. I make my own observations, and from them, I develop my own opinion. I mean, where do you find your beauty? And who's to say that you're wrong?